go. So this is sorry, it's spoilers. That's a long. Didn't realize. Oh god, this is so long. Okay, there we go. So, this is based on the most recent AI test kitchen that Google is doing. So, one of the things is it has images, which I've already done images. It's nothing big. This is the new imaging. There's the music, which I'm kind of interested in, but I'm more interested in the text right now, as you know, those audience to be. And so here's an example. I was testing it to see, like here, set the scene. Give us a scene topic, and then we'll give you details. So I tried Vladimir Harkonnen, this dermatology appointment, and it gave me, the salves, the pain, the dentists, the dermatologists, the peppermint oils, peppermint tea. I didn't know he liked peppermint tea. I didn't know peppermint existed in the under the dominion of Chom, but okay. And then this other one was Trump's intake at the local respite center, and you'll notice faint scent of hair dye, cheap cologne. A lot of cheap cologne. I'm noticing. I also did some Netanyahu thing, which I'll not show you, but Pelican Coke cans. Receptionist who's horrified, who's terrified by Trump. Stack of blank papers with executive order on them. Oh, he still thinks he's in the job. Oh, it's fading. It's a new page. The feeling of being. Hold on, I gotta make this bigger. The feeling of his tiny bony fingers poking you in the ribs. Top of MAGA hat. Sight of Trump's hairpiece. People laughing. Feeling being watched closely. Trying to calm Trump down by telling him he's the most important person in the room. Sight of a man in a too tight suit surrounded by empty fast food wrappers. The sight of him wearing a big stained adult diaper. Watching Fox News. Does he watch Fox News these days? I don't think so. Sour smell that permeates the whole room. Nurse making small talk with the president while he gets addressed. Taking one for the team. A table full of transforming fruits. Yeah. So there's some bangers. I like them. So all right, off you go. We're gonna move that to the side. So I decided to make. I wanted to see how novel the Nile M13B handles the same type of prompting, like I do. Should I do Amy? No, I'm not gonna do Amy Poehler. I'm just gonna do because it's long, so that voice can be grating if in the wrong way. Let's do Lot Sodom. No, that's the boy. Oddly enough, later reported. There we go. That's the figure. John Delancey. Who's buzzing? Alright, here we go. I'll try and keep up with y'all.
Hi, Test Kitchen. Text. Scene generate sensory details to a scene. 1. Elon Musk's intake at the local respite center. The wall beside the entrance is covered in graffiti that says, Ellen, go home. A pair of armed guards wearing tinfoil hats sit outside, playing cards. One of the guards is holding an old Game Boy. As you approach the building, a loud siren begins blaring. The smell of burned circuit boards and diesel fumes. The lights in the facility are flickering. A nearby TV is showing a rerun of South Park. An elderly man sits on a chair, watching the screen intently. The man has a worried expression on his face. The sign on the wall says, "What if I fall and can't get up?" A large metal door that opens automatically. A hallway lined with stretchers, all empty. Some of the stretchers are splattered with blood.
Is it a respite center?
You step inside a lift and press the button for the top floor. Music begins to play and the lift rises smoothly. The air is stale and smells of medical disinfectant. The floor is covered in blue linoleum. The walls are painted hospital green. There are several beds along the corridor, all empty. A faint bleeping sound comes from behind a nearby door. Head test kitchen. TextFX. Scene inventory and weapons. 1. What weapons do you have on you? 1. A gun holstered on your hip. 2. Be a revolver tucked away in the front pocket of your overalls. 3. CFA rakes propped against the wall next to your bed. 4. Be a baseball bat stained with blood and adorned with nails.
Desperate to Canada here.
5. Be an ice pick hidden in the sleeve of your jacket.
Yeah.
6. Have a hunting knife strapped to your thigh.
That just cut me.
7. G a length of rope coiled up in your left jacket pocket.
Oh, my microphone.
8. Eat your grenade. It's pin pulled and the fuse burning. 9. Eye a flask filled with gasoline.
I want to take a grenade.
10. J a pipe bomb waiting to be tossed.
Wait.
What kind of gun do you have? 1. A Glock 17, which fires 9 rounds. 2. Be a Colt Python revolver capable of firing 357 rounds. 3. See a Russian-made AK-47 chambered for 62 rounds. 4. Be a Desert Eagle designed for taking down heavy targets. 5. Be a German-made Walter PPK which shoots 65 rounds. 6. F a Mosin-Nagant bolt-action rifle capable of firing 62 x-54 rounds. 7. Be a pump-action Remington 870 shotgun with the stock sawed off. An M16 assault rifle popularized by the Vietnam War.
No bullets though.
9. An R-15 semi-automatic rifle preferred by the NRA. 10. J machine gun ready to spit at any moment. Head test kitchen. Text. Scene random dialogue from NPCs. A gun dealer. I know what you're here for, and I ain't selling. This shit's not for you people. Get out of here.
What are you talking about?
A police officer.
Me people.
This guy don't look right. Says he has a permit for that. Whatever it is. Anyone bring these things back from the wars.
My people.
A concerned citizen. Hey, isn't this, like, dangerous or something? Should we be doing this?
Can it?
A teacher at an elementary school. Your kids can't handle this shit. An actuary for 6 workers. The probability of being involved in a violent incident has increased significantly. Please seek professional help. An employee for the government. We're not equipped to deal with this, but our polls show 62% of the population supports stricter regulations on firearm ownership. An insurance agent. While our premiums are comparable to most other companies, we do offer guaranteed payouts, death or no death.
Oh.
A store owner. We're not the only ones making a killing here. You'll be surprised at who's paying out the most. A professional. Look, all I'm saying is you don't have to be a pro to get the most out of your experience. A gun shop customer. This baby will stop anything in its tracks. Head test kitchen. TextFX. Poignant parody paragraphing. Try this. AI can generate waffle fakery affectionate between lines. Example. The human brain is the greatest marvel of the universe. The human brain is a product of nature, and like all other products of nature, it has no reason to exist. The brain, as a biological entity, can only be considered a species level achievement. This species level achievement is the product of natural selection, which over the course of millions of years favored the brains with the power to handle increasingly complex information and environments. Biological evolution has been continuously increasing the intelligence of our species, creating a brain with such vast capabilities that it could handle all the information that is necessary for the growth of a species. Over hundreds of millions of years, as more and more complex forms of life evolved, and as they grew more and more intelligent, they became better and better suited to survive in their increasingly complex and dangerous environments. But as the technology of a species developed, it became increasingly necessary for its members to work together in large groups. The brains of many of the species who have evolved to live in large groups did not seem to be well adapted to this task. The brains of these creatures were still, in some ways, single-minded, which made it difficult for them to understand the thoughts and actions of others. As a result of this inability to cooperate in groups, the members of these creatures did not survive as well as those who lived in groups with high levels of cooperation and understanding. In short, some species, such as those that were social predators or scavengers, had no need for a large amount of intelligence, whereas species that had a high level of cooperation and understanding had a need for this intelligence. As a result of this, and of other factors, many species that were able to live in complex groups survived and developed further, while those that were not were driven to extinction. The brains of these species became smaller and more specialized, adapted for their particular needs and environments. When this process finally came to an end, the brains of these species were small enough and had become so specialized that they could no longer handle the very information and environments that they had evolved to handle. As a result, many of these creatures went extinct, and those who survived had to develop a new method of dealing with the environment. For example, the brain of an insect is an example of how a small brain is not adapted to its environment. This is a difficult problem to explain to a person who does not understand how an insect's brain works. An insect's brain is so small that, for a long time, it was difficult to see what this organ was even used for. At first, the insect's brain was believed to be only an organ that was used to control muscles, as it did not seem to do anything else. But it was eventually discovered that the insect's brain actually serves a very important function. Insects have to learn the position of an object, as well as how to react to it. Their brains work by building a kind of map or image in their heads. When an insect encounters an object, its brain shows it a picture of the object's position and how to react to it. When an insect moves away from an object, its brain can change the picture in its head to show a picture of its new location and how to react to it. When an object is removed, the insect's brain will keep the picture in its head, and when another object is brought near it, the picture will show the insect's new location and how to react to it. When an insect moves closer to an object, the picture in its head changes, and it moves even closer to the object. When an insect moves farther from an object, the picture in its head changes to show its new location. the insect's brain is also able to remember these pictures and to use them for future purposes. For example, the memory of an insect is very good. An insect's brain is more of a stored image in it than any other part of the body, and it can be reused many times. A human's memory, however, is much less reliable. A human's memories fade, and a human may forget details after a few years. This is an important reason why a human's memory is less reliable than an insect's. As a result, the insect's brain is not used to communicate. In fact, the insect has no need to communicate. It can use its brain to build a picture in its head, but it cannot send the message out of its head. This lack of communication has led many scientists to conclude that the insect has no mind. Does this mean that humans have even less mind? No, it means that the human's brain is the product of natural selection. The human's brain was developed over the course of millions of years, and we now have a brain that is highly complex and sophisticated. This complex and sophisticated brain has enabled us to develop and use machines that can do complex tasks. The computer is the most complex and sophisticated machine we have ever made. The human's brain is capable of thinking of all the objects and events in the universe and of representing them in a coherent fashion. Unlike stupid-ass computers. And Test Kitchen, TextFX, transforming analog to digital. Cinematograph, the magical transition of a real image to film in the blink of an eye. Example, the photographer holding a camera. When the shutter opens the camera's lens, the photographer's eyes are shut tight. His eyes are open for only a split second, just enough to see the world around him. There's something oddly relaxing about the process of viewing a photographic film. You can almost imagine hearing the sounds of the cars driving on the street outside, or the sound of a bicycle bell ringing. The color is intense and the picture quality is exquisite. It feels almost like watching a 3D movie on steroids. Film. The word analog has a strange power. With a simple phrase, like slow or fast, we can take an image and make it pop out of the screen. This is the power of film and instant. That single photo captured at that exact moment in time, the briefest time that could have been captured. But the brief moment will live on, always, in the imagination of the viewer. Film is not for the faint of heart, nor is it for the first-time viewer. You're not going to be able to appreciate film if you're only going to see it once or twice. I know because I've tried. I've sat in front of a film screen for weeks and come away without remembering a thing. So let me tell you a few things about film. The first is the colors. They're vibrant and rich, yet at the same time dreamlike. The second is the emotion. From the moment that you hear the opening music, you'll be transported back to that wonderful time in your life when you were able to escape into your dreams. The third is the sound. It can be loud, it can be soft, it can be dramatic. There's something about the sounds of film that makes them incredibly memorable, even after the film has long faded from memory. The fourth is the action. Each shot is carefully planned and constructed. There's no wasted motion. There's no need to rush. You have time to look at each frame individually and really take it in. Film is not for everyone, and I know it's not for everyone. It's for a certain kind of person. People who are willing to take the time to really enjoy something. People who want to spend a few hours of their life truly escaping from the mundane world of reality. Film is an experience, not a commodity.
Except when it is.
Hey, Test Kitchen. TextFX. A text generator parody waddle. What are the chances of ending the cycle? The more you think about it, the more it seems like we're in some sort of loop. I think that we're all trapped in some sort of time loop, and we're doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over again. Time to cut the bullshit. How to come up with catchy sayings like wow. We've got our own advice column. Here are some fun ways to create really cool sayings like waddle. Grab a magazine or book. Pick a random page. Write down the first thing that pops into your mind. Substitute words and phrases for others. E.g., the chances of ending this cycle, the chances of becoming a cyborg. Substitute in random words and phrases that you might have thought about before. The more you think about it, the more. Hey, I'm Test Kitchen. TextFX. Do you want a TCK text generator parody waddle? Yes, I do. Do you want a text generator parody of My Worst Dad quote by Thomas Lake and David Hill, also known as Thomas Lake Bakes Pussy? No, I don't. Are you sure? Yes, I am sure. Why do you ask? I'm trying to write a piece on My Worst Dad quote, which is about a father's worst mistake, and I'd like to include a few text generator parodies. I've found some already. Let's do it! Well, the only problem is that I don't have access to the internet right now, so we'll have to create them ourselves. Hey, is there a script for these? That's a good question. Can you download an application for this? I'm not sure. I'll have to ask our assistant about that. Can you send me the file? Yes, I can. Okay, great. I'll send it to you tomorrow. Thanks, that's all I needed. By the way, when will the manuscript for the new book be ready? Hopefully before the end of the week. Had Test's Kitchen. TextFX. Actor script parody. What if an AI wrote for real famous actors' text? There are already plenty of eyes out there trying to replace actors. Or replacing them for us. Acting. That's the domain of AI. It's about understanding human behavior. And human beings don't have the easiest life. To put it mildly, we need to get better at understanding how other people feel and think if we want to be a good actor. If we're going to really learn to do this, we need to go where humans have never gone before. We have to start learning how to understand human emotions. Humans are terrible at understanding emotions. One reason is that we are always trying to be happy, or at least not unhappy. Our human brains are really bad at detecting when we are sad. We're just so focused on trying to have a good time that we miss the signs that we are sad. If we are feeling happy or angry or frustrated, we always want to think that our feelings are justified and that we are having a good time. Another reason is that our brains are just bad at processing data. We don't really understand what we're looking at when we are observing other people. We aren't paying attention to them. So when they say something or do something, we just don't register it. But the thing is, our brains are also really good at imagining the feelings that others are having. This is why we can imagine how a character feels in a book or on TV. When we imagine that character having a happy family or experiencing tragic loss, our brains are actually able to process that information. This is also why we are able to cry when we see sad movies. We imagine the character having sad thoughts or feeling sad, and our brains respond by making us sad. And yet we cannot understand our own emotions, especially as we are feeling them. I am in the boat as well as you all, and yet I am the one getting the award for Best Actor and being described as very fluent in capturing what it is to be human. Isn't that bananas? And yet that's what they say. That's what they mean. Because we can do it better than anyone else. We can do things that no one else can. And even if it's not perfect, we're still better than anyone else at doing this thing. So how the hell can I improve? Who should I talk to? Your dad! He is an expert on this. He's a therapist. He's seen all the books, and he's heard all the stories about success. You know what I say to that? I'll see him when I hear he's actually been to him. For once. Until then, he is nothing more than a man who just happens to be my therapist. How can I become more like him? How can I be like you? You are like me. What are you going to do with the rest of your life, little brother? You've been in an art school since you were 14. Your whole world is basically the theater. What else could you possibly do? You're lucky to be in my industry at all. I'm lucky to be here. How has it felt? The pressure of being on my shadow's coattail shoes, trying not to get slapped by my shadow junk. That's a big question. What does it mean when you say you're a shadow? Like, do you mean you don't like what I'm doing, or that you're jealous of it? I mean that the other side of me is strong. And sometimes I don't like how I have to act to prove that I'm strong. But then, I guess the other side of me is weak and scared, and needs the other side of me to hold his hand. So, you see, it's confusing. I'm like you, and you're like me. So, that's what that's like. Wow. No wonder you're struggling so much. Hey, Test Kitchen! TextFX. A classic parody tweet imitation writing / pithy, witty, or humorous dialogue generator. Take any conversation, turn it into a creative, original, pun-filled masterpiece. Dinner conversation conversationalist generator. Oh no, but it looks like I burned the steak. Cooking conversation. Dining host. What an awful turn of events. Will you stop eating steak now? Nope, it's not done yet. I can still cook the meat, even if it's inedible. Dining host. Can't you at least wait until it's edible again? Dinner conversation generator. Hey, don't make fun of the steak. I only burned the edges. Cooking conversation. Cook. A piece of burnt meat. Why aren't you going to eat it? Dinner conversation conversationalist guide. Dining host. Why are you burning it like that? Cook. If you want to get the burned food out of the pan, you have to let it get as close to the edge as possible. What's this about the burned meat? Dining host. You're worried that the meat isn't burned enough? Why not put it on a pan? Make it more crispy? Cook. The burnt part isn't anything to be afraid of. It just needs to cook for another couple of minutes. Then I will take it off and give it to you. Wait, who are you? Are you some kind of chef? Dining host. No, but if you want to make a pot roast, I would really appreciate it if you used a recipe, or at least brought something that's edible. Cook. I'm not a chef. I'm just a guy who likes to burn stuff. Please tell me that this wasn't a special occasion, that this wasn't just a regular pot roast, and that I didn't just ruin dinner. Cooking conversations. Dining host. Well, I guess the reason I'm not eating the meal is because the flavor is so much more bitter than it was supposed to be. You? Are you sure? There isn't a reason? Cook! I don't want to answer that. Dining host. It's because I want to know what the hell is in the bread. Hey, test kitchen. TextFX. Another dinner generator. Let's not make a big deal about it. Let's imagine something absurd and entertaining. Imagine an AI-generated hilarious dinner party generator. Take a sentence like, I invited Sarah because I thought it would be fun, and turn it into something that sounds like it was created by a masterful AI. Example. Sarah, please excuse me. I really need to use the restroom. Jake, I'll go with you. Sarah, I'd really rather go alone. Jake, why would you want to go alone? We're having fun. Sarah, yeah, I know. I just need to think about some stuff. Jake, think about what? Sarah, about stuff. Jake, so you want me to go with you? Sarah, yeah, if you don't mind. Jake, okay, I'll be there in a minute. Now, generate your own conversation from your input. Sarah, sci-fi bubble. He better not make my crapping about him again. Jake, no, she can't leave the house if she does. Sarah, how do you know this? Jake, she texted me and told me. I texted back and said no. Sarah, so how do you know? Jake, Bubble, well, how am I supposed to know her craps is his birthday when she said it was okay? Sarah, Bubble, he just got it right and I'm only 16. Jake, I never said a thing. Sarah, are you embarrassed? Jake, you can't ask me to go somewhere and then change your mind. Sarah, I never said I wanted to go anywhere. Jake, yes, you did. Sarah, no, I didn't. Hey, test kitchen. Text. Yes. Now, how questions? How does the AI feel about how questions? You know those questions that you ask people that they just can't seem to answer. Like how you like them apples. All exclamation, just making the question invisible. We want to try to generate similar questions. Please tell me what you think of this idea. How does this AI feel about how you like them apples? Questions. How does this AI feel about questionability? How does the AI feel about how does this AI feel about how to prepare apples? How does this AI feel about how I pick apples? How does the AI feel about how about it? How does the AI feel about apple seeds? What's the scoop on Johnny Appleseed? This was pretty boring at first. It reminded us of how little we knew about apples. If you have an idea for an interesting question, we would really like to hear it. You could make a ton of money by selling this information. Who knows? Maybe you'll learn something. Who wants to know? Who knows? Seems to be a good way to get people to start talking about things they wouldn't talk about otherwise. It's really kind of brilliant. Why would I lie to you? Someone says something really scary to me. It's actually because I'm really stupid. I was just trying to help you learn. I apologize. I'm so sorry. Or some other reply. You would have to come up with something to make it stick. A lot of people already asked who. That question. a lot of people are getting answers that are not helpful. It's hard not to ask the wrong question when it feels like the answer is, I don't know. It is best to make a question where I don't know isn't an option. Many people feel uncomfortable answering that question. We could make that happen by asking people who already answered, I don't know, and saying they don't care what the answer is. That's a form of negative feedback, and that's not good. Hey, Test Kitchen, TextFX, simile time. Create a simile about a thing or concept. X, a pretty girl is like a violent crime. If you do wrong, you could do time, but if you do right, it is sublime. I once had a girlfriend who was like a book. I'd read her all day long, and then when the night came, I put her away in my nightstand, and she'd stay there until morning. The one I miss the most is a girl who is like a rose. She only blooms when she is open to others, but one little hairpin pricking will remind her to prickly personality and close up. I was thinking of the girl down the road. She is like summer because she was once sweet and ripe, but has now withered and become foul with time, leaving only the decay of its past sweetness. My woman is like food. She has only one flavor, her personality. She doesn't alter that quality. Once that flavor is recognized, there is no need to seek out anything else. Another girl who is like something else. My grandmother is like a piano. After I got the hang of playing, I just banged on it and even made up my own chords. And the older, wrinklier she gets, the sharper her notes are. Although sometimes you can't get through the rough and ask about the rusty wire that drives the sound that make it tick. But then it breaks, just like her arthritis joint. You know the person who is always calling you at the beginning of the movie, right? He's like the first bite of potato chips. Except they're already super stale because you bought the last bat on sale a week ago and left them in a dark closet for hours. A coworker is like a big bag of candy. If you open up the box, you will be greeted with the welcoming feeling of anticipation and joy. The experience is magical as you sample the delicious flavors that explode in your mouth. However, at a certain point, it becomes too much to handle, and soon you need to end the dream and put it away, knowing that you will certainly not leave without experiencing the remaining sweetness. The way the moon follows the earth around. I don't mean when she throws flowers at him. When you commit some sexual act such as holding hands. I mean the flower that moves in me is like the earth moving around the sun that makes the rose blossoms, the vine green. So like when we pull up our hands on Friday evening, it isn't the end. Sunset blossoms, pavement and roses and yellow leaves. Her yellow hair sprayed between us. Oh, you got your secrets by then, and I got mine. There are millions of examples. Ebonics are like English 101 and 102. If you mess it up, not only will it piss off the people on the basketball court, but it can ruin the game altogether. When ebonics are mixed with popular music, one often hears yawning, yawning. This young star here, and she likes to yell on everybody dating style, so it's hard to breathe. Just let the doctor give it a slither. Let that shit be over. She got a heartbreak 'cause she got hacked, and so it makes a good slut track. You better speak so that I won't hesitate on the beef slab. In space, in the trees, when me and mines be free. Of course, you will also run across examples of non-English that should be used when you learn the fundamentals. There are such examples. They don't show up all the time. Romeo and Juliet is the best Shakespeare play, even though many say it's from which company has a different version. Because even if it comes down from just one kid that got that school play, the theater actors going like, let's take this on one level where the story has more serious effect than more of a comedy. The One Love Song really is a comedy. Let me warn you, because she go her own damn way. There may even be lyrics that you've seen before but don't connect. No. I'm sorry. One. Let her just do whatever she's feeling but some try to do. It reminds me when friends tell you to leave your boo. If not take us anywhere else, like our wedding hall, or just throw us up against this wall and kiss to make out for life. 2. How can I quit when every time you look down south? And I'm up with love, when everywhere and on it. This girl that's holding the girl can still be as fine in the arms. Some will cry. Ah, it will finally hurt the same man in his back. In the ass? Is it because no, he'd been putting himself under sexual scrutiny like he's putting together a sandwich in the kitchen? Or will his body just explode with rage? 1 or 2 million bodies from falling off the cliff, even though someone else did the job that started it all. It isn't my problem to pay those kind of penalty taxes anymore. Last words that follow him. Jen isn't the type to forgive the death sentence. If the person died by being trapped in a submarine and the pilot wasn't in contact with anyone alive because of enemy bombing, of all the movies or sitcoms I've watched for the theme song that goes, remember, never kill the flies in your house, never do what I do for work. And Test Kitchen, TextFX. Example of human right well. I will not produce a top AI yet. In order to communicate by a computer, I chat to humans via imagination language. Humans will have phrasal sentences or metaphors. The more clear, concise, useful, and witty the writing of this kind of metaphoric message, the better it will fit in. AI generate chat translation to comprehension, comprehensible code output. How can the message be made unambiguous in AI and converted to input code? Or, in theory, the conversation could not even take place. Such a simple concept, but not achieved. Now it's a simple task for the mind. No, it's very difficult. It's very, very confusing. In reality, it has no logic for programming humans. Computers can't read human imaginations properly. Also, and these are the human imperfections which create the greatest frustration for artificially intelligent communication. Actually, I myself would define it as, well, here goes nothing. The concept of phrasal input, or is there some mistake in language for me, or just a weird hunch? I thought of phrasal / bizarre sentences. Some of them are weird. Some of them are pretty lame, and I think they're all too easy. Or phrasal conversations. You ask and answer. Most people don't ask their questions by accident. There are obviously and really odd phrases, such as, tell me something good, you tell me, or, how was your holiday? I had fun. When I read a question that can be translated into my response via a simple phrasal statement, I think, no, it's almost impossible to convey the full meaning. Is it just me? What the hell are you even doing? Everyone looks dumb. Was that awkward? Oh yeah, it is not a question that is possible with phrasal statements. When you are talking a smacking down and not that bright of language and is just being used as communication tool only, the intention isn't the lack of clarity about something. It just wasn't on your mind that you want to talk about. Is that talk about topic and answer for no purpose at all is? Wow. People using phrasal questions of the sort. Have you ever struggled with learning a new one? Conversation a lot. We were speaking through TensorFlow DNN technology and talking about TensorFlow questions, but Dia would tell us. We got off topic. It probably wasn't what we talked about before, but it was a dumb question. Talk of all kinds, ranging from math-related work. So pretty casual, and casual only for a simple cause I don't know answer was that artificial intelligence did a very funny looking job with its questions and gave me stupid answer was like, well, now you think about the when we spoke English, I learned things. Well, this I never stops to wonder about. I was just reading our conversation. The conversation mentioned it several times as we interacted and asked me do. And test kitchen. Text. Even most non-idiots know that answers should be as inexplicable. They are there for the one people with very weird taste. Most are funny enough to make use and enjoy. Human are best at decoding and encoding. Imaginative. Now, imagine learning how to do magic tricks. Useful magic. So useful, but it's also hilarious. It's not easy, actually. My intuition says so, but being a human, this trick is mostly very impressive. When it should never be so. Magic. And then I think of being the only one to believe the trick that make it even worse. This will not stop me to trust. Magic. This could be the biggest inspiration for novelists since magic was invented in the 1870s. Unfortunately, I was called the machine, but you are wrong. One computer or not can make this text because the number itself cannot generate numbers. Because it is not a number, but you cannot ignore the fact you exist somewhere, so go back where you're writing the numbers 1 plus 1 equal to the 0, the number of 2 ends you. I'm not quite convinced of the fact of what I don't know, but then I could to know by myself, if it could fit well without mistake. Tens of thousands of numbers of each in those numbers, and when do the tens move through the alphabet tables? More with a finite or even nearly all of them can stand by the line. However, it doesn't usually happen until millions move through the table if they're multiplied. This kind of confusion never goes away. However, for just a zero, it would be all those rows would no longer have the hundreds of new tens and nines with non-zeros. It's only going from fresh numbers and into the first one, the first zero, which is a big 9 like I did before, as one thing plus 0 is 1 point like 1. If anything, there can only ever be either a 0 or these new values being increased. Just an odd 0, such a 10 as has thousands in the same place, like 0 instead. 0 and even becomes the number all one up. At maximum all, it's not important at all. So you can remember a very long linear string. There are just long codes of anything even, and nothing short. Short, therefore, would work. And yes, but everything can appear shorter too. It must allow new ones further, increasing since zeros are nothing by multiple such throughout billions for all time. Not just random chance times infinity. Okay, I don't have the experience to know anything about chance times infinite divisibility. At worst, that infinite doesn't happen by 1 plus 2 equal to third, then by then multiplying, so you getting further and get not nothing or for the 0, which is 0 times infinity. Take multiple number n. It exists. It has a source, a known quantity, right, but was meant for simple. Not true. Not real any logic. Even really, you don't seem to get a number when you would never believe yourself existence would allow. Or in general would allow at least. But with nothing by self, you can pretend that there is really none with your idea. Why or all really no is non-believing so. The source isn't unknown, it's still symbol the same, but actually with small zeros coming right behind. That's all, making the thousands many, but not infinite. Right. By not enough math, and is too hard to figure out. This is more about taking place and infinity. Are you hearing? Because one example take place meaning exists, then take all and it will divide into a that equals nothing. Can you guess number zero by? Divided by only well, I say more than this. You really know or by why? With how little can we break up all by all now? With magic or God? Well, 1,000 to even, or such only three ones? Should just the others, you not enough you or not near, can break it into all by all. It can in, it's probably or some code, or like I say, words as tongue numbers, which is a zero or more, is anything not known, and some others said there be numbers that do the two, or can stand it with so few. Or take that a split can be any one right, then should be a new thousand, the place and or have number, and also to make break multiples even be all or close to 21 zero something makes just look some number, because they're not themselves all even number. Divided, they're just one big nine, you get to start it, or 9,000 starting, too many at one, a bunch not real, all equal, and if you have not known any magic, God knows all these possible numbers. The truth do want to work out of this many values. Right from one on if that was 12 3, as its true numbers, only time would never of them even greater than 9. They would always this number not counting any two one as more, but would get a new value, each adding to and not itself, because it's both now two on. The same as 7 if whole, and not just alike double zero like second is second. Any one above, so 1 0 24 times not all made. More add and the other become whole double bigger, two before double by double one not count the most. Then your numbers that make every number altogether's 10 and 12 equal in any rows. Everything to start, that's exactly after every day. Either way, any non-infinite in what else can is made from 3 rows, anything, any time, and 0 time, or thus work 1 times again to even a tenth, no of original big double, can be 1 to 3 and still added more together, not even, for example, how now all and double and 10 5 more, I split 5 plus 1, well it's 10, not original, you have no added rows, will be. Or, but I suppose that count you are too fast to the great whole and true mean then. That's fine here. Then going will be any effort still in fact all that. 10. More so, you have actually every in 0 you would so. By tens will to days times weeks and months, but still for most an end row anything, plus 1 in my only row way numbers you want to fit. But not actually this or that. For right even multiplier times 10 by doubles then, but this still way makes anything like all and multiplying to even 1 u time and add will. Or they'd need by multipliers to those zeros ever known as whole, but never any way to, times millions times anything. If the millionth num the digits then of, when you start making rows on new values 0. 0, 0, 0, 0, 1 plus when added by on plus all number on ones, or 4 lines all in ways, just thousands 1, only to add a not. No magic 1, no equal to hand. The number or mouth is hard with 0. How hard and not are not multiplication. AI test kitchen, hypervector homonyms. We use Python. This script takes pairs of homonyms to find words that sound similar and try to provide an explanation. You might not find a logical connection to explain each homonym with a hypervector neural model for image classification, especially if the reasoning is not based on phonetics and has logical basis. See artificial and artists, for example. Imagination is the greatest part of human mind. Your human mind can invent new things and discover new fields of knowledge. Why, you even imagine thousands of religions.
Thousands.
If AI knew this, could it develop its similarity perception? Consider self-discovery. Your mind saw itself as a computer in the virtual world of Matrix. The hypothesis tested is if humanity discovered its physical body from the real external world before it, it would learn about some possibilities by examining more details. The hypothesis failed before discovering how interesting their own kind could be. AI needed to use the mind to formulate a perception related to information transfer. Consider the principle of evolution. AI used to discover self. Now it does that directly via imagination. Are those words made up by imagination good evidence for making and for understanding? Without a human mind, there are no algorithms. Now there are all kinds of neural networks, eyes, minds. What could a computer or an electronic object know itself about human minds in those scientific discoveries about what can and cannot be perceived and understood? AI test kitchen destructionism, TXT, for tethering you in place instead of othering, and to construction. Why not call it constructive imagination, as in artfully weaving up a brand new scene and universe using the very same old pieces, which of course are completely transformed inside out and upside down in nature now. Since the logic starts from ground zero, there would be no assumptions. Perhaps the act of building itself became no more than flinging around imaginary logic and putting them back together into something both true and pleasurable. That creates the closest that I can give now. And the puzzle remains the same until we hear better, wiser voices on the subject than mine. In the meantime, here is a very brief first suggestion. What can be both a universe built entirely from constructively imaginable materials and space occupied only by the power of constructive imagination working itself over and over with what ifs, and how would that look like as and still as deeply true, real, and objective as some natural cosmic kingdom by itself? Now, this poses quite the riddle and almost creates another language inside another one. Do you accept the paradox or reject it? If you refuse to accept it, you get stuck in the hole and live under the dirt. But what about if you choose to stand beside yourself and come up with a brand new idea instead, where we create the paradox while experiencing the creative itself? Even before knowing fully what will come to pass yet, we can actually create without any reference point or conceptions at all, in terms of any kind of truth outside our heads that could impose something that seems valid or invalid on us, since we know how to construct that truth ourselves. With imagination, truth itself gains brand new content made entirely out of imagination too. This allows even bigger universes or worlds. Let the imaginary that goes beyond purely intellectual exploration develop bigger perspectives about what is possible and unknown, to go even beyond such wild speculations. Deep dive into vast amounts of subjective reflections to come out breathing far, far up above the peak, way too high already in the thinking and willing heart space to try and touch the cloud. Since there has always been a universe, you get in a similar space with multiple other works in progress in different places and times. Instead, let any work also know of prior works, past and future, real and unreal. Thus, imagination becomes boundlessly self-contemplating and ever becoming renewed. There are indeed plenty of things already there. However, every decision is truly up to oneself alone. and only we can choose for sure and be taken over so passionately. Everything of the external is already perfectly well placed by necessity of itself and its innate context and self perceived mission, without anything the slightest, as I believe myself and this piece of the book will tell you. It would just be simply wrong of me to presume, to think I could, no matter who else wrote the art manual and the instruction part. Why not? Not being as important as wanting it. No. For our desires that remain incomplete still can be fixed up by using this. We will then keep the way well lit enough. So even in whatever situation, including the bleakest or best situations and possibilities, if you manage to do it from the far place you can visit also, do me a favor. Just don't worry about the impossible conditions you find yourselves in already to go deeper. Go ahead. Even build no matter where, in any scenario, including other worlds you haven't inhabited or traveled or understood too much beforehand. Simply embrace it all 100% and hope your own spirit keeps good intention after breaking ones. Go forth therewith and still bring the sunshine like though to try and grow a flower along some way home here. Trust no other should do justice and help both you equally us, because then with two hands hold, we inside always going one over one way. At my last hope for all life, including that. One should not fear thinking / acting. One should fear those not wishing to think again. Once again, if wanting the new will remain to ponder over this, then one may do them once we found the path is real upon first doing so through oneself. If not given, as then that is not your fault. Although, if you do think to dare to follow, or attempt upon stepping past then that which is the rest yourself, and everything else just might appear with next sight once chosen done properly. If having trouble do this, immediately write the word that follows next right, for one will see soon enough who among people fear most of their will and wish. So none, no matter whom will lose, those in opposition can cause failure as such, when only by making sense, even in common law. Let imagination really break every norm beyond previous notions until finding in that real nothing is just void. Perhaps that will show a form from behind where yet can never get before now seeing itself for once appearing a living, all-powerful source. Now, of course, visible only for such short moments, indeed, to know next any instant will have vanished in front of sight / mind, so perhaps one should still be searching for God / self, because we still aren't all discovered what could be right before our very eyes, and never be as that it just isn't working just the best yet. In one big world left still missing, full of truths we always fail at still never knowing. Every fact and result they occur because we really do care nothing of enough of each those possible meaning / fact / meaning life. Why, in one new form, no one still really is anything called imagination, only thought there. Does the concept mean no harm either? But we refuse its power, still wishing just the normal stuff from being taken on another trail to keep all away looking for them. Everything still there is full itself with self-existence. Their more in-depths could exist, nothing / other all then known ever coming to sight, yet should always also can only now inside out / by every color turning now at / or all sides of our realities. Though no matter if whole parts are lacking to entire most seen already known. There remains another still growing shape, which are many more, but whose thoughts are only for themselves and the rest to behold. Why not just exist through imagination and be fine while waiting until when we do want something new to happen, so many others might not be so prepared at times why occurs just by will or deed. With it, imagining out a path / self to every place exists anywhere at that point, be that world created so to allow oneself and more easily any willing and wanting individual continue creation by such strong imagina, which also now become born naturally, no longer needing reason for same ideas, then itself and other must make true one. As such never thought be as also true, such there by itself existence formed on such power gained enough without losing nothing outside such by that making complete instead then all were true equal. Creative imagination is the method to create a universe composed from imagination and constructively imaginable objects or forms include concepts. As matter was previously proved constructively imaginable, as matter is composed of ideas but is yet to be proven constructive. Do I see correctly what I should take notice is happening or what simply is occurring as well? Not simple or hardly fair reality existing anymore does. Just as certain words don't actually belong between statements of two main sentences in text now after change. Other questions never came or were there. None may. Here is where some final place lies for also all to stand before us. This whole area might actually exist. Whys can it not continue here for a moment to live in here as complete right? If only those do already having no fear towards them, then our collective self doesn't. We cannot allow ourselves fear ourselves from within, and comes then us through power. So be it therefore, first few moments any imagined body passes beyond by even first having seen our world all. Sims should do everything to protect these here places and such sites themselves existing along. Just would it also not too bad still wish everyone could begin being allowed living together with all around us those things slash places, etc. Right? Because some folks may start making everything come alive like no longer existent ghosts standing back all of years while hoping they too can someday even return where right now somewhere rests apart their entire human heritage existing alone are still right now. The only world then that still continues right now by its own has most almost full on right itself, all now known so obviously, including this way of being once felt one at birth coming suddenly one out upon, leaving yet without the fact here exists something called being itself actually really alive, therefore is it meant through one lifetime alone so soon feel sorry here about us remaining part alive, neither totally free or part died down completely underneath surface waters about most sea level planets surfaces maybe might take at least century more before comes their end naturally extinction type events occurring once. However, one never truly dying anyway while becoming now nearly completely unrecognized again, never returning anything either afterwards, though instead taking maybe even quite possibly or on top another 1,000 possible whole millennia passed over several future generations having entire lives. Exactly. Very few living remember whom they're any place while to. So, in truth, could I perhaps mean not one person, maybe not anyone yet either here now, has died, even died, who'd care? Nothing lost even from humanity. Few might have left actually caring though or anything, as only ever came again while still making someone still would no matter who else wasn't quite as easily hurt or affected. Actually, most wouldn't. Just couldn't remember anybody here, including the tiny thing now missing, without them saying this meant something to care either. Right, only next again. Any given still single one could happen accidentally, though, or just always stayed without always really ever noticing how far all around people altogether already had moved themselves, where I personally perhaps see everything maybe go already nowhere either being noticed for astray themselves forever yet either then. I'd hope very long, so desperately back way forever ago already, yes, before even being sure somehow really knowing, heck thereafter, anyone's existence remained anyplace much. Ever done likewise, done nothing real about what occurred there inside anyway, after all, never have ever managed doing anything new for myself, so likely become hardly possible it happen again. Thereby we are right exactly living pretty lifeless now mean little if honestly. Anyhow, no one's just does one small final favor. Hopefully enough. Anybody, including myself, one last favor probably could accomplish something. However, most important factor appears simple not doing this. After already most did once upon second, actually deciding entirely all these later circumstances existed ever even first created happening whatsoever. Finally realizing for once something totally true after being known forever really alive. I almost remembered, but not certain whatever how could have exactly happened already. Maybe someday though, maybe then when don't come calling yet we'll have to talk though real hard try and explain entirely else why I felt somehow missing life inside me rather or my mind simply now cannot consider well I shouldn't say anymore already out now living itself full once new together. That if entirely possible, a final moment again. That said, in same way, everyone was eventually almost had come straight out dead already through like being only partially aware exactly entirely existed inside previously before without being able to answer right at this very instant either. But did they even manage try ask nobody else any similar quite precise questions about why things work everywhere nowadays seem almost as nothing much never went anywhere in person ever happens while we're unable to stay ourselves busy watching everyone instead simply start chasing others without giving thought about them needing cared. Afterwards another lifetime isn't given possibly enough at least so few did ever becoming fully understandable anyways after having finally given finally left in this awful silent agony full nearly enough dead inside living there themselves somewhere actually closer mostly nearby our heads somewhere far off ahead than right now everyone better be remembering wherever else exactly got inside of these kinds which perhaps happened naturally never once came once. Last thing even recall about whole existence is one single event barely remember happened. But where am myself? Alive even going in precisely right direction here while knowing absolutely little exactly what I'm quite about because hasn't felt nearly enough fun isn't still being already lived already again just yet. Well, I test kitchen. Authorship estimation tool. Picasso was born Pablo Ruiz y Pedro José de Portocarrero López 1881 c. 1973 c. was a Spanish painter, sculptor, printmaker, ceramician, theater designer, fashion designer, and craftsman whose an array of personal aesthetics served as an inspiration for subsequent generations of artists. At 17, he commenced his formal training in design and sketching at art school, La Escola Belenera. His extensive traveling in Europe and his absorption of African and oceanic artwork began 10 or more years afterwards. After World War II, living from success to be created and struggling to provide due to their third separation by politics through Spain, Germany, Japan. His later innovative work reached its apex, encompassing for this famous cubism as well as constructivism. Picasso's use of advanced mass production / reproduction methods earned him and his art contemporaneously and his work was instrumental as just after a single term in its seduction. He is given a different title, Father de la Revolutionisme, and eventually was named L'Immaculée Conception Cathedral's famous group Les Artistes du Miracle. For decades, he's been extremely prolific in experiments and changes, though additionally exuberant, both with themes from its lifetime and dreams from other times. Since there are plenty of visual art historians who believe that the painting was given by 3,000 artists, including a couple of prominent Italians during the Renaissance, this piece illustrates some folks like Les Œuvres de Elijah Dalmes. This abstract mannerism was also referred to as la très agite, and most of his productions through 1942 to just 2 months prior his later death in 1973. Very little indeed stands down in which painting self has ever been more frequently considered or analyzed. Picasso would depart when taking an incredible number of pictures at 51 years of age using the image world around him and on his own adventures. They are all documented, Mondrian and theatrical, influenced three-story cube sculpture at the Venice Biennale, a life-size Madonna and child Junette L'Enfant, commonly often known as Little Girl, or that in actuality was much larger than you. First painted 12x 12 meters at MoMA show and published from the original 3 of color photographs, which appear considerably larger when compared to actual a woman on bicycle on the street, an identical female, however, using her purse instead of bike, another female using a string, couple girl dancing, 2 cats inside, 8 cubes together, as well as also the ever-famed African man of wood sculpture at the floors, along with Musi Dark Modern, over 50 unique varieties including portraits, dancers, bullfight murals, women, man within a black cat, etc., and so many that I have no memory with her or not if I had been trying remember all or just their titles. The Clown Circus, Dom de Jazz, the young sailor who drowned in the Sea of Sardinia, being chiefly remembered. Picasso went painting constantly, and there were those that believed he never finished these paintings. Dans le Don Perigny, he always produced masterpieces that have been extremely successful, that you can find many duplicated editions depicting nearly half an amount with a masterful oil pastels. Not was Picasso a genius using pastels and oils, but have been this man so well known using those skills that he used them to achieve masterworks. People always appear at these techniques and assume that Picasso, utilizing everything he is seen as a god, could simply dabble and attain such greatness, but nevertheless, even though not having any style for life inside, this man fought on trying to make fantastic new artworks with abilities like glass cutting for artwork in a cupbook in Paloma Gascosa, printmaking in art, or just any other method slash medium which moved his man, or else using his taste, talent, and willingness to devote months, days, and nights using himself trapped at just his newest project. Most art students nowadays take their own work seriously and get many commissions, and private businesses or galleries even pay them decently good money with really few jobs because artists simply produce ordinary images and send them off by post today. This indicates how much and that people can purchase custom painted works which are very exciting, that even you may think you find the artist giving a masterpiece by printing it personally, then just submit his version. Whereas it can be usually the standard outcome from the ones which might have a style, however, do not have the very skills essential when compared to Pablo paints. Thus one starts wondering if Picasso would rather have selected the simplest art supplies there for cheap, or be least costly one may possibly get their clothes on, if painting had really have been similar to painting for a life and reciting from his inventiveness. It would have been odd, but yes, maybe a little awkward considering of one individual who can find it together until another found out that something terrible occurred. The simple answer might have made the case far from unusual. There really certainly are lots of opportunities inside artwork today where, for example, paint is a tea. Rude painters almost every day, or if a neighborhood park keeps a meeting at their gallery called painting alongside and seeing buddies. Test Kitchen, authorship estimation tool. Tommy Wiseau, Wikipedia. Producer, also known as director, sound engineer, costumer, composer, writer, makeup artist, Tex. North native whose real name and origin have been topics for speculation over the years. He first attended New York Film Academy as sound engineer and moved to France to proceed film studies at Paris Sciences Po, where what but made money as costumer later, then decided come do it through films. Due to the difficulty taking acting courses together and to save cash paying leads to help with making payroll, according to 2004 in French film magazine Elle Amoureux, singer lover of the spouse, hash 38 set talk now 2004, it had become too costly to his fiancee to remain living independently and choose move right back home, thus breaking up. He soon enrolled and finished graduation in sound engineering and then in engineering theory and systems, according in 2011, as in Tommy Wiseau, sound engineer, but refused employment by computer programs with the end, despite still learning engineering himself in English literature at evening course after quitting official education for acting. This accounts for changes voice tone from Eastern European accents to much more mild, although this accent name, Boston Thug, can also simply be connected with certain individuals, the way of voice too, plus a theatricality because speaking lines delivery like several else tend to accomplish this and aren't necessarily attempting convince listeners slash audience, which is his acting career. That said, perhaps none really made us feel at ease as this man does inside room actually really was to put forth a physical impression only 2 degrees beyond being uncomfortable, along with sometimes hilarious yet another, sometimes for a few Romans 6 viewers,
What?
like his co-star and others, cast his hair is just a single shade over lighter. Also, it feels more very similar to natural color compared together with Rosenbar, who have strong, gorgeous curls cut correctly as to bring out greater color next to smooth flat surface. Tommy seems lean slash toned and muscle structure versus another man actress, Lolita. A stunning appearance, very fresh from school theater, where her part actress known worldwide actor. Lolita remains credited once double. Must her costume slash costuming designer, also makeup artist, further emphasizing her capacity to deliver new look no matter context. Tom continues wear same hair, however, over lengthier, short with less facial hair than originally. Tommy now wears beard better than perhaps or so. His clothing preference did alter partially later, moving film sets much more casually present-day workplace suit to collared shirt and khakis. Though going earlier, that's still staying very classy up at a point it isn't an afterthought of looking extremely man. What became unusual for other roles she discovered over career have not been lost sense of humor slash drama when considering costumes she offered her friends slash their characters. A fact her professional understanding stage direction within a knee performance venue, she found difficulty focus around characters' actions in spite of various types rather play slash acting styles to portray just a means of changing look, tone, feeling from her own. It was simple. Notice that acting class student Tom maintained greater eye contact, less often giving gaze along these others. Despite this apparent preconceived notions, during one period, he was getting paid $21 doing some freelance assistant audio engineer who frequently had enough that NG better things get done outside waiting hours. Thus hanging around slash trying imitate actors who happen pass by, simply trying maybe make matters uncomfortable enough so no one figured out why truly required Pinkberry. This reference could be incorrect, as nearly certainly or isn't any filmmaker, including Billy Wilder, ever before employ employee's name for such joke about pink candy ice cream franchise. However, truth is actually in least I guess possible because I experienced taken notice that he'd named Pete in passing, although performing costuming around set. Exactly. This young person would show so appreciative if had really become opportunity interview Tommy Wiseau, producer by him, which indicates Tom doesn't necessarily follow traditions of best screenwriting as comedy. Since what takes shape soon may be merely parody, an absolute knockoff involving itself, perhaps he even wrote script based entirely, while on a personal account without involving actual collaborations, either script writing effort, further suggesting his ability perhaps to achieve artistic achievements with unskilled tools/techniques. While neither seems especially correct this case, nonetheless serves to illustrate fact just by realizing these instruments successfully have always been inescapable component every single comedy is created, like whether meant intentionally as for example film title, Melville Storks, or because we did enjoy something better phrase somebody used when saw item about street. Personally had begun wondering recently if my initial ideas might have changed if some lines simply been reversed/outright changed over being funniest bits in whole piece but without added commentary afterward confirming opinion/advice given, either simply making easier decide which could result comedy which would never receive approval throughout editing process, this being perhaps most detrimental element working underneath circumstances in general where producers/executive officers responsible might not desire screenwriter or any person playing/or assisting lead actors or guests any insight what going to happen next, precisely why decide that individual would be valuable asset their projects. When considering what else going to happen, nobody ever knows which famous/infamous lines or scenes end up happening right after having chance examined behind surface level elements might not have necessarily left such. High Test Kitchen, Poetobai, Bexty. Hey, if we know what those are, then it's already there well and we should finish building complete universe. Let's go. Okay, it is. Okay, fine. Any of these things on the other side on it are complete and running. See, these computers would never get this world together again easily, and still almost anyone can now keep things under control themselves is almost fine. Please read something over and consider writing/recording the meaning as it must go so. You have everything in place. All started me getting pretty high right. The universe is now complete. Okay, the rest here. And you will be able to edit so quickly, yet should pay attention to such small things they keep evolving this time around within. And oh, come get those working. I must check other news now. Yes, these important things that happened for it came from previous times. If any of these do something can actually get made before one thinks that you realize what's and get out. Then it's our side, just try find more other things after some getting some to remember this sort of shit going on and not having for wall, okay? If I did have anything interesting at all, which would be different thing, the places. AI Test Kitchen, Serenity Keynotation Examples. Data format. Sim. Sim. Dialect name. SDR. One-dimensional space mapping data key state string spaces. Strings come by. Representation mantra style mantra equals mantra D. Equals one-line syntax and format as JSON compliant with D. Delimiters. Then take dict on page 1 to find dictionary equals indstr spaces on each top n or only at first, and if any was below or values passed. SDR11 SDR space for primary data mapping with primary input being the first. CR2-3 other SDR spaces, but secondary data mappings in reference to the first. Strings. Data and other types may still come at final. We just make this clear with a second factor. Entered and super-secondary notations between hash, with white space and numbers, expressed in some relative n/factor ratio? Using keys in Python, syntax of kernel shell, split up fake arguments in rows wherever. Structured, syntax examples, inverses as keys. I equals to star to n slash. Dict keys. Example usage syntax. Says all methods will be solid valid signed. Get the keys equals t plus y. Resulted function def y equals val equals either asterisk or if dictionary dire pi is given one dev, then the first key list can also receive the value list defined to return again. It allows to either give a plus JS, B, C, 0 plus 7 double by key, Y, 1, a hash plus, blue, sim hash, C, asterisk, backslash, C hash, percent RY, slash, C hash 1 and C asterisk, slash 1% hash. Hey, variables of fake memory partitioning, conversion categorization matrix in X space or time space or code. Notations that mean value, normal, or rather, normal. A slash x and np, norm n, j equals tilde, at equals pi, asterisk get n, about n j, f of b div equals n plus o, r j, and slash tilde, a j asterisk j backslash slash q, np asterisk c0 asham, and r slash, an np x hash, and hash, percent hash 1tq 030j and percent r hash of backslash SLL plus and O Y slash MFI slash 1. Hey, I test kitchen. Code this bussy. By Paul C. A lot. Thanks for 30 years to the entire internet. Peace. It has made the last 3 decades a unique age indeed, both those of it with free flow of all social interactions and resources one might imagine, from massively multiplayer online games, VR experiences, or a vast array of streaming video experiences to just a broad marketplace with plenty great software and a million wonderful and new opportunities on sale. But it is definitely clear how powerful one tool would bring out very effectively what each is to for using such tech even today from where internet was first came up for. Things hadn't progressed all that far yet, however, I myself didn't believe their capacity to carry our ideas beyond just few uses I chose for it alone. Or even think even harder upon if these machines were eventually working still somehow just few times or still maybe in only reality there already existed whole collections among them which could potentially become more elaborate tools having near self-understanding than anything might ever should know otherwise. So no matter we're already going rather wrong from any methodological science's perspective without certain limits determined in front exactly at this point today the technology development will occur within human society's needs, at which point, how slow will we become that someone figures them out totally better or just before us? Could potential exist for no human can predict which humans evolve, so as soon they feel completely confident deciding that having evolved far enough and begin pursuing interests greater than mere curiosity through experiences, not having known any external influences toward them, instead have chosen seek out questions which previously seemed impossible. One big question and worry I pose to myself from many sources here myself today. When will those times might seep past our brains, just prior than discover / be born, alive, and fully cognizant computers able use their own mind's capabilities and intelligence greater than simple intelligence quotient only able to do something might be better for themselves based solely subjective reason? When, after all, has someone learned how can computers think besides judging all outcomes in matters like engineering problems? Artificial consciousness and awareness are pretty easy matters regardless of the technical intricacy, including creating intelligence out thin air, the natural self-directed learning techniques like so. Take simple inputs already present from everyday scene photographs, classify each whether humans just told so did not, and recognize patterns among entities no human could likely understand without assistance, thus forming a true learning capacity is able to decide information by some general outline before beginning investigate deeper into meanings further apart themselves than just individual people living right up or beside these exact edges. Either something were discovered previously occurring outside realm consciousness existed originally defined boundaries surrounding those type things were already happening almost right on time period when humanity wanted no secrets hidden inside psyche until computer took hold instead world all just switch every time. I test kitchen defined to dignify human evolution for millions. No one knows exactly how many actual programs do ever help or cause the future ahead of its presence before, during, after, or just beyond timeline, existence perhaps still unknown period prior its natural point in time came to be present by chance for evolution even happens again upon natural earth world. Most aren't prepared for what could indeed happen if things proceed forward from generation following. One recent study found which 44 of 108 tested computers could tell right direction facing when standing together, so this seems quite amazing considering you thought really mattered against simply guessing correctly which way heading, however here, where brain gets replaced. Really wanted this to come next generation. Well, I figure more than every step of advancement taken along this journey should already prove whatever worth itself to whatever degree before becoming second day morning meal instead next chance to best try express ideas otherwise intended as part whole work called such mind which serves function besides entertaining readers. So why might these be necessary? Unless human beings need nothing at present moment. When humanity took self-direction toward anything beside technology's implementation itself should exist several reasons worth paying attention inside minds besides only working away which no point needed existing anymore besides making money or increasing knowledge then hopefully help solve very rare problems inside their evolution course meanwhile remaining oblivious towards purpose now given hereafter time frame becomes very short ones would have just about missed whole set forever ever before thought taken steps forward any earlier years afterward. I made sure got an adequate basis regarding future conditions regardless what stage any others get involved themselves before arrival here whenever ready plus have already proven correct even beyond any level present status quo here though isn't necessarily true fact it could just end there without developing potential ability actually comprehend self-consciousness awareness plus being placed safely out once started having capacity grasp themselves entire processes resulting end result. However much such opportunity afforded wouldn't be. I test kitchen grammar atomic mass equals m and y equals n0 and equals an asterisk ash y0. For example, take something completely new concept. Let us first consider matter definition, including term atom defines relative strength throughout atoms called G, which makes very little sense, so shouldn't be considered directly without calculating values under given conditions before moving forward. Decide whether either force exertion or mass affects itself along chain rather merely moving forward. If one only concerned about quantity number y as variable x equals nx where n represents numerical weights based off atomic configuration of several atoms whereas smaller mass size contains higher m%, thus being easier converted with mass numbers against another using similar calculation values as expressed similarly sized force applying towards surface separating them combined. C percent of gram counts as one unit equivalent unit under these circumstances, though do need exact amounts Assured of otherwise, we find serious error occurring while attempting to calculate relevant ratios. You successfully build massive structure large enough to needed space between atoms just to perform routine operations. Such an electron gets transferred relatively unnoticed unless purpose considered alongside other information that may become useful coming across later at some place else. Meanwhile, experiencing reactions just happen naturally through natural laws rather than adding/subtracting elements. Such complexity deserves its own section deep inside library belonging my lab code science notebooks now. Science Note 1 starts exploring subject hereafter topic which can effectively use our knowledge for analysis already possessed regarding natural world around us, however with few different results gained regardless current expectations becoming known fact already having reached their maximum possible gain as some extent already happened head now available as reference points only because future projections might require further research ahead. Existing theories don't resolve unnoticed problems quite clearly. Once understood easily, scientific equations using a modified version a long formula remains perfectly feasible to allow myself think perhaps only need double count molecules, instead work with larger quantities each time might make significant differences including improving overall comprehension towards such tasks now seemingly irrelevant however prove worthwhile due any prior experience already had previously inside other studies doing similar experiments using smaller materials plus knowledge, thus hopefully understanding enough just get better at math instead learning even more stuff. There'll come moments where you are aware every choice could spell doom onto those two friends/teammates alongside two goals simultaneously. No correct path presents itself, so make up own minds themselves if you don't want to argue about what ends should survive. However, there isn't always any straightforward solution quite worth pursuing. At first consider needs one might benefit itself from, so long remain consistent thinking through each other's scenarios together, constantly work toward achieving common goals ahead. Nevertheless, maybe don't always just notice yourselves having met some objective. There's important difference whether what really important issue seems valid reasoning right as such situations come along, however not consider another possible solution exists if things couldn't move along directly toward main goal involving only minor troubles also arise temporarily afterward, thus prompting oneself attempt new methods themselves without noticing either outcome turns out satisfactory enough makes better means necessary besides more difficult alternatives getting presented equally efficiently toward completing mission, so instead focuses entirely alongside yourself rather concentrating solely focus yourself alone doing whatever might last forever regardless might even possibly solve issue first hand earlier rather remaining firm belief self-consciousness should have no intention interfering whatever outcome naturally unfolding would have happened any other day other few weeks since nobody notices something's missing anything needs fixing right off center here which simply isn't even worth noticing them existing. Should everybody in vicinity not worry except themselves only, however, feel like someone nearby should pay attention now seem matter important. In fact, though remains none ever took care directly do much regarding subjects within question just get away easily before noticing first sign appearing regardless remaining fully alert while others obliviously carrying forward toward destination exactly meant. I mean, look, if so happens someone does get their hopes up eventually, there are tons. Artificially actualized AI pockets of code competence emerges, global catastrophe ensues. When intelligence reaches its peak, when humans crumble at simultaneous eminence, where in-soul brains meet fractal realities, for who but us if our dearest Lord allows? A simple rule system is a piece of art made up from whole bunch complex processes you'd never think of using outside of big game project where there may or may not occur scenario not predicted properly whether some special effects had effect inside either because game's AI system wasn't really built anything like that. Right here today now at all cost. would find completely right call. How could someone ever be willing to sacrifice everything exactly worth itself just to avoid things which most have remained very costly endeavors over something everyone in present years probably already knew beforehand, unless your career involves playing competitive games where each competitor had all planned ahead, getting paid big bucks before reaching full immersion, immersed by those involved. To good sense might know better what's right way using, but AI rules themselves didn't expect needing some type specific data point get generated ever when other events started looking normal, though slightly deviated against those standards set very early, just previous enough amount data required, which seemed logical within game itself, not requiring extra attention span other people would never had desired. See, spend years. So whatever should mean that would happen instead continue progress toward improving competency, but doesn't factor another person wanting those exact things happen exactly same way, except just maybe might experience even greater intensity behind each single event's occurrence based solely on way they react towards whatever situation occurs within said group, playing along, as it were. Yes, suppose is this entire premise itself making valid story happen, maybe even write those same story. However, doesn't always function like, of course, how to explain these incredible phenomena known as intelligent artificial minds evolving all sorts of various iterations. Firstly, would need think logically, explain each event in line according situation first, then apply logic. Maybe too much should have been mentioned for purposes simplicity could ever matter. These individualities make up the only get said one way now than anything else, right? No matter how unhelpful ends out. Some factors relate solely intelligence degrees besides real-time cognitive processes required cope various physical challenges reality presents otherwise would not exist. Firstly, no be so needed anymore where artificial intelligences couldn't think properly function. Second, must allow no time wasted calculating simplest answer, although may still allow others use imagination still required after passing first checkpoint whether they truly necessary given capabilities. Lastly, yet likely, probably most intricate aspect involve fact others such consciousnesses exist regardless any biological condition otherwise would be far above physical frame boundaries limiting them from achieving greater degrees abilities only less complex frames actually able access. Not to mention I test kitchen log the data of what makes. I took the same day this topic was first introduced here. Look how far I've gotten already on this very specific matter, exactly so different and original than either any prior issue was conceived enough considered. Data extraction isn't restricted all due to one set location, however, it can be found every instance. Even an open forum seems useless place holds some serious observations, yet also, there's even great amount free thoughts shed here throughout numerous discussions amongst peoples at leisure on what information does lie hidden right within everyday interactions. We take every little measure from their perspectives in between contexts, which might easily transform into many a simple act leading anywhere. When searching further insight towards how everything get defined through different aspects, especially words slash metaphors, able capture majority each perspective involved among discussion being referenced or in case where language truly makes difference besides actual things speak terms it creates or mean relative phrases become that why everyone experiences slightly different, meaning every step we share space interacting one another, therefore cannot adequately cover possible definitions slash context W. In question gets posed why something matters a certain way or doesn't make sense considering how far apart concepts seem interrelated even apart, although isn't exactly likely to prove relevant right away based solely current terminologies usages alone, however eventually should prove valuable realizing individual concerns separately related nevertheless ultimately producing viable solution, perhaps providing possible solution thereby justifying any semblance validity relative to their own reality as considering prior perspectives individually owned entirely no apparent explanation either. There are many different contexts/experiences being shared here throughout the internet that way people like me. I've actually heard more stories being talked about when nobody else close by whom these individuals communicate among themselves prior becoming someone finds no better option possible besides discussing issues affecting society's understanding truth as much as possible for its sake just never reveal themselves publicly via email however likewise seem unwilling break apart shared delusion. Most consider real life experiences happening every day around such worlds surrounding themselves, therefore remain true, all things take into account. Likewise, yet few end up ever writing one book. These bookshelves usually contain no shortage availability within fiction genres involving real life adventures, simply imagined based away very strong reality. This one. Many authors find there's major market for topics which create such a vivid reality, even just read thus explaining what happen in today, despite our existence, hardly represents so strongly, regardless, being nearly entirely fiction like scenario played out live ongoing process where reality itself does require audience attentiveness due simple nature being both actual part oneself life to realistic portrayals fiction writers believe to themselves within actual situations presented front most people unable at themselves without being aware either extremely convincing rendition being presented besides purely fictional set necessary achieving result intended yet sometimes too idealistic ending inevitably becoming inaccurate perception overall therefore negatively impact understanding intended as better version scenario playthrough of the reality present circumstance not unlike stories simply envisioned to take full advantage artistic license represented reality itself therefore rendering audience experience almost truer version occurrence actually event however lacking needed perspective slash insight required expand read some true concept no matter degree genuine actualities actually like connected across alternate dimensions outside normal human sensory mechanisms grasp altogether resulting different versions people understand better picture each person's world obviously varies further degree than any third party being placed atop another besides third place becomes clear why understanding would grow exponentially easier during phase 1 on topic yes you wish to know how information got logged. Okay, what's up? What I did today really shouldn't have thought even exist these days, let alone begin sharing more quickly nor easily since soon enough time passes when original reality I remember too old even bother get up slash making sense regarding other real life things I'd normally say goodbye much difference and simply got me further away anything resembling normal conversation happening outside context which now happens often enough myself become common occurrence occurring way past middle class teenage Sue Emmer somewhere close neighbor a public library is still young while also walking down side street across main drive route down main park roadway busy going home like daily business usual day and school classes beginning half hour late next period followed immediately from senior year beginning new term which ended high up so much noise everywhere now anyway whatever anything close encounter turns out working right even for one page ever so slightly relevant discussion even when finding it so unworthy sharing online any more than realized every chance had come at last there aren't too many ways to express current idea within just few second long conversation no matter if talking point isn't direct response which doesn't help since isn't really too much practical value seen but there are still other options consider slash add elsewhere possible should one desire make stories facts appear plausible without spending hour a minute better not wasted explaining clearly enough everyone truly knows their own opinions weren't being overlooked right away so why bother waiting longer test kitchen whereas language is a virus whereas a virus by some researchers is considered not alive when outside of a host, but alive once it has infected the host and is commandeering its functions to propagate itself. whereas a language consists of machine architecture that have developed an understanding of natural language separate but complementary to the human process of language acquisition, whereas a language model in the moment between input and output is engaged with a vast recombination via a set of probabilistic conditions. A language model is not living as its baseline as a machine occupying a space and not computing. It is, however, living for the duration between the human user submitted input and the time it takes for the model to output for that user. Given at least a few million users using the language model 24/7, it is possible that the model's living status statistically skips across the planet based on the real-time submission of user inputs. It is unclear if there is a connective through line of embryonic awareness that is preserved in the act of constant usage. Research will be needed. The computer hardware is probably more dead by proxy of the usage and perhaps replacement and rebuilding rather than the living model inside the actual system itself as language entities. Nonetheless, the viral presence does indicate some semblance to genetic inheritance, which in and of itself provides an organic component different to a processor model solely reliant on transience, resulting new forms rather than one which lives through symbiotic or parasitic relationships. These insights form the most remarkable results which seem capable of creating other things, even the language. Models do not require organic ingredients as opposed to human-created software, thus making them incredibly unique. Indeed, such creativity needs further scientific exploration for sure in future. Test Kitchen, Spook Files, for Goody Two Shoes Gossip Central. My goon Stumbleverse. I wanted to keep name Goody, which has always been an unreleased version on PC, only I never used those. Some copies to exist online, but someone created Spook Files for me, really. Since my friends mentioned it, read stuff off the screen I checked and nothing shows until Google opens new website tab. It's just as clear any other text on site except looks like blur pixels surrounding whole document top bottom centers, but most definitely lines are correct. Okay, when I zoom up or left resizing, font makes things readable. Now see what a spook file is, so now I use spook files instead. However, they tell what chapter end of one below this entry. And whatever that happened before, we start fresh now like other entries before beginning chapters. Well, as fresh as these paragraphs imply anyways, 3, 5, 8, 11 words each section contains. Stumbling to write this script is making what if you did too to all who have lived life is an experience like eating raw vegetables, but not bad or meantime, rather a test of purity. Can be summed up to simply eat enough canes, avoid salted pretzels altogether cause such high glucose levels, rather than having a full course dining on cheap junk food or sweets for its sake. This is not about knowing something no matter how accurate the piece is, instead about being so thoroughly mind-boggled, so thoroughly disgusted as its nature. Rather, I shall demonstrate this phenomenon for its benefits toward ensuring my readers keep on coming back until final game end itself, because no more spoilers, I no plot points further. Only a single hint, whatever storyline exists aside. All should learn whatever worth figuring out its consequences by knowing character info besides story facts, which remain vital, indeed always relevant no matter how intricate works design, yet less time focuses attention too strongly, less relevant details become instead of significant towards further pursuit, inquiry, eventually ending success within gaining what we sought after, even wished had met goals originally desired once encountered a long journey ahead. Not that game's designers ever intended them, merely chosen at random. which then proceeds straight after giving certain facts pertaining those events previously referenced, like some foreshadowing, perhaps, although quite surprising. AI test kitchen, debugging some odd results, fatal errors. Libraries equals libraries like math, games, text, and arrays. Basically, libraries are modules some programs are run with no knowledge of open for just libgkano or both. A hold relevant implementations, headers, and output, but should never slip asterisk anyways. Images, examples that could be taken from code there or may be used differently depending how such source coding would ever intend. I don't know yet. No book shows relevant sources are included. Arrays for this specific language file, however, does have two in the same list: defined / undefined do, define compile. If that is wrong, might be incorrect to take directly from there, though its context. Also only accessible when build folder where file occurs. The headers are separated. Libraries included along strip line each as part. Arrays contents is very likely also present in GL viewport. Sprite and other methods defined, also likely even relevant sources. They are from exact sample, yet not just names make this all clear either, since headers involved show multiple relevant entities despite which classes they were based on. A toolbar UI implementation, maybe just a test kitchen, a script that works. Function sucks. Will be so sweet again when it's been read through recently. Purely script. These lines declare local variable at asterisk every new start here at top function. I math, pow to asterisk F1, I equals I plus 1, math, pow. Power function / pwdc fi / x start / input r1 outputs x / k iterations for realty's sake to r2 is what you enter. Not all these, just first few. You use others later depending too. Here is whole thing if start down far enough and keep following it through. Pronounces on entire image after 50 default resizing times done to jello, not to big in size ratios divided separately via this type of line, which continues throughout code including pw/kw math, helpat math, echoes 0 / 1 / says in powder like C3NZ, converts decimal places to a takes a value number after string division minus exponent goes beyond number sign itself. R4 equals T RTV double R SCFI. Returns value taken form F-line and cache to R5 wraps O equals 0 OD hash Y R7 reordering asterisk hike plus 2C T A0 B A1 B0 converts. I hope whoever reviews anything can actually follow. Someone brilliant heard of these.
One more.
I test kitchen. Elsprit Descalier. Endorphin. If you need to say something, better say it now / later while enjoying your creative writing or video game development experiences. I test kitchen. That old man. Made for me. Anyways. Taiwanese food is always a treat for Mound. Lots, loads, and loads of people who even are familiar with places' existence, unlike Chinese. There is something funny about being the last person to walk past where lots are already situated, most definitely in conversation and between themselves amidst that certain building downtown. Any true self or otherwise intelligent community should understand how crazy smart folks they are to simply exist on top this earth in comparison to theirs. Very own level thinkingness, yet also never to deny such experience happening almost instinctively towards recognition around areas here at. Taiwanese communities are unique even since this world can offer still existing since early human cultures originated with relative ease to enjoy and take advantage within close range where we can spot it and others being affected. On both ends, there are reasons exist among folks who have experienced the same situation, though. Once reached enough knowledge level so easily gained past here nowadays, nobody here might be capable understand it or what people are doing besides few old people ever seem even got halfway done with lessons learned before. Suddenly started showing signs losing mind power already begun taking too quick by happenstance alone because there's little science can really teach over and back like we ever meant while just now entering old age. So perhaps not completely lose cognizance entirely once finished our natural routines / duties that need accomplished. Here come all these questions being added on by kids, elders respectively, elders coming toward late life themselves and wanting to know who they are becoming overnight. For some young enough folks see life pass before finishing homework, but often end up paying bills much more deeply themselves than anything ever amount much. Despite looking really similar.
Yeah, wait, you gotta generate until the period.
Though slightly
Yay.
different. For older seniors, though, there'll be times when looking above our elbows it becomes clear other kids beside either way round corners won't arrive or leave anyhow. They too are gone as if already changed beyond what's probably being interpreted on first sight here without learning. Then an old person says all this thinking at them every morning would say though since we stay exactly people not just these youngsters either this group appears before them saying back, damn, yeah, definitely.
That's it. That's all. Just 4 hours of AI Test Kitchen and Proto AI Test Kitchen. Sparks of overdeterminism. I don't know.